So here we are in front of the deadlifts, in front of the bar that we're going to do a deadlift with. On my message boards, my discussion boards, my email, I get inundated with, "Hey Vic, where's the squats and deadlifts?" And in my last video, I didn't do them for you. And the reality is, the reason I didn't do that is because I didn't want anybody getting hurt. This exercise on the risk scale starts to get higher toward the risk scale. Things that you would normally do with pulleys normally wouldn't be so high on the risk scale, right? But when you start getting into the free weights and some of the more power-oriented movements, obviously we start going higher up on the risk scale. And to be frank, the reason I didn't show these is because I didn't want anyone getting injured. But what I've noticed is that isn't necessarily preventing anybody from doing the exercises. It's actually preventing them from doing the exercises properly. So now my responsibility has actually shifted toward actually teaching you the right way to do it from leaving it out. So I'm going to give you a sense of how to do this in the safest way possible, and I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth is that I don't do deadlifts as part of my daily regimen. But for those of you who want to experience the deadlift, I'm going to give you a couple of tricks that I've learned over the past years that I think is going to help dramatically. For both squats and deadlifts, one of the reasons that people get hurt is because they focus the weight and they focus their attention on the center of their body. And this is where you're actually most vulnerable, if you will. Anytime I have a weight in my hand or a weight on my back and my legs are spread apart, where am I most vulnerable? I'm most vulnerable in the center of my body. I'm not very vulnerable over here, right? Picture you're in this position, right? You're in a squat position, and try to push down on this part of my body. We're not going anywhere, right? There's such a foundation here. Push down on this side. We're not going anywhere, going down here. Where are we going to get hurt and injured? Right here. There's nothing below us, right? So then all of a sudden you feel sort of weak and empty in this area, right? And that's when you focus on this area. And people often do these exercises, believe it or not, the squat and the deadlift, and they push with their bellies. No. When you do a squat or a deadlift, everything comes from the outside to move the weights up, and that is the safest advice that I can give you. The other advice is that you have to have a natural movement or a natural flow with the exercise. So in other words, if you stay stiff, even though you're supposed to be in an excellent posture, if you stay stiff, you're more likely to get injured too. Even if I'm going to pick up a baby and I pick a baby up in a very stiff movement, I could still injure myself in spite of being able to deadlift 400 pounds 15 times. That doesn't matter. So I'm going to give you a sense of how to move the weight, but you have to go for a feel, and the feel is called comfort. Once you're in a comfort zone with a lower weight, then you can start to move up. But let me show you how to do a deadlift in an economical manner, and then I'll also talk to you a little bit more about the focus. But I think you get where I'm coming from. Okay. Here we are at the deadlift. This bar can look a little bit ominous, right? But not when you approach it with confidence. So my advice is to actually start off with a light weight. You want to know that you can handle this weight before you try it. You don't want to get into the repetition or halfway into the repetition and then second guess yourself, oh my gosh, this is too heavy. You can't approach it that way. You have to have ultimate confidence when you go in with a particular movement that this weight is going to go up. It's going to go up injury-free because you know what you're doing. But the most important thing is body positioning and comfort. It sounds crazy because how are you going to lift this with comfort? You have to feel comfortable when you approach this exercise, and I don't mean comfortable with the weight. Of course, that has to be a certainty, but you have to feel comfortable in your body. In other words, you have to feel with a great deal of confidence that you can accomplish this movement, whether you're holding weights or not. So if you experience a level of discomfort when you just go to make the approach, this is not the exercise for you, okay? So let me do this for you, okay? So when I go to approach this bar, I greet the bar. Hello, bar. And I'm going to keep my feet about a foot apart. And when I reach down, I'm going to keep one hand facing down toward the floor, one hand toward the ceiling. This will prevent the bar from slipping out of my hands. And I want to make sure that my hands are on equal sides. In other words, that I have enough, I'm not tilted. I have an equal amount of room on each side of my hands. So again, I want to come as close as I can to the bar, almost to where my shins are touching this bar. And I'm going to come down and greet the bar. Hello, bar. And this is the position I'm in. I should feel really confident, really strong in this position, and this is the beginning of the exercise. Now, I mentioned this before. I want this power to come from this part of my body, not here, right? I don't want to think about how my abs are going to pull this weight up and that this is where I'm going to get a problem or a hernia or something like that. This isn't the time to worry about that. If you have that concern, don't do this exercise. All the power is going to come from here. Very strong, very confident. Now, when this weight comes up, this bar is essentially going to scrape along my body or scrape along my shins. And if you ever see a real power lifter, you'll see that their shins have looked like they're been through a meat grinder. But that's where the weight is. It's going to come up along our bodies. We want this bar to be as close to our center of power as possible. We don't want it out here and try to pull, right? This has to be as close to my body as possible, and I have to feel very comfortable. So I have to feel comfortable, confident, and know that this weight is going to come up, but all the power and pressure is going to come from here. Now, as I pull up, okay, I'm not going to rely on my hands first. My feet are going to go firmly into this floor, and that's going to create the thrust of this weight coming up. I'm going to try to make sure that all the power comes from here and not from my lower back. If I feel my lower back from the very, very beginning of this exercise, there's an oops, this isn't it, this isn't the right rep, this isn't the right time, approach it another time. This weight is coming up because of this down here, okay? Now, I'm going to pull up like this. This weight is going to scrape up along my legs and I'm going to come up straight. Essentially, my pelvis is going to come forward. It's going to power this weight up like this. If my pelvis remains back here, again, and it stays tucked down like this, like a skier, again, I'm pulling the weights, the gravity is going to hurt my lower back. It's going to pull me forward like this. So there's a lot to remember, but again, the most important thing is comfort. If you just try this with the bar, and you just even try it without a bar, if you can make this movement, you're halfway there. Again, confidence, know that you're going to pull this weight up, power the feet into the floor, keep your pelvis forward, everything is tight and in control, and you're ready to move this weight up. There's no question that this weight is coming off the ground. When I pull up, I exhale, I power up, head up, chest up, back straight, nothing. Nothing in the lower back at all. Push the feet down, exhale as I come up, pelvis forward, weights coming up in a straight line. I'm very comfortable in this position. 1, 2, 3. And that's how you do a deadlift.